Hey gang, we are in Canterbury, Kent, England right now, and we're in St. Dunstan Church, very old famous church here. And I'm going to tell you the story of Sir Thomas More. He's a very interesting man, had a violent end under King Henry VIII, who was a maniac beheading people, half his wives and his friends, and you name it. Well, this guy was his friend. They grew up together. So let's take a look around this church. On the inside, it's a very windy day, so we'll stay inside here. Nobody's here. If someone comes in, we'll have to just take a little break. So look at this trunk. There's a story behind this trunk, guys. Yes. Sir Thomas More, an intellectual of the time. He was one of the most brilliant men that England had ever produced here. English lawyer, judge, social philosopher, author, statesman, theologian, and noted Renaissance humanist. As I mentioned, he would serve Henry VIII as Lord High Chancellor of England from 1529 to 1532. When he was young, 22 years old, that's when he first met Henry. They had countless meals. They had discussed relationships, family, and politics. They shared a passion for astronomy, and they'd look up at the evenings, look up at the stars, and ponder. Talked about theology. They were quite close. Now, Henry VIII was quite the character, as I mentioned, in addition to being the ladies' man, beheading many of his wives. He decided that he was going to make up his own religion. You know, many of you know about the dissolution of the monasteries. Well, that was just his way of getting a divorce, because the Pope, they wouldn't allow that. So it's like, well, heck with you. I'll just make you all go away and I'll make up my own religion. Well, this process took place from 1536 to 1541. See, Henry liked having his wives. Then he'd behead them left and right when he got sick of them. He also had a lot of friends beheaded. So, you know, friends, Thomas More, 1535, and he's gearing up this dissolution of the monastery's plan, and Thomas was not going along with it. Could not in good conscience renounce his faith in the Catholic religion, so he refused to sign the oath of supremacy, which acknowledged Henry VIII as the head of the Church of England. As such, he was disavowing the Pope's authority and supremacy. Well, Henry did not like hearing this. So he would turn on his old friend, and Thomas would be conveniently convicted of high treason. And of course, that would mean death. And of course, it wouldn't be an easy one. It was going to be a show. Well, the gruesome death that Thomas was to receive was read out to him, that he should be carried back to the Tower of London by the help of William Kingston, sheriff, and from thence drawn on a hurdle through the city of London to Tyburn, there to be hanged till he should be half dead. Well, we're talking about hanged, drawn, and quartered, folks. Then he should be cut down alive, his privy parts cut off. Yes, this is while you're alive, you get to watch the executioner cut your thingy off and then throw it in the fire. And then he'd rip your belly open, pulling your entrails out. And if he was really good, you would still be alive if he did it like a surgeon. And then it said his belly ripped, his bowel burnt, his 4 quarters sit up over the 4 gates of the city, and his head upon London Bridge. Well, after the sentencing, Thomas was taken back to the Tower of London by armed guard. His daughter, Margaret Roper, that's her married name, had been waiting on the route that she knew her father would be taken. He had a very close relationship with Margaret, who we called Meg. She had both written letters to him and visited him many times during his long imprisonment in the Tower of London. She's heartbroken. She pushed her way past the archers and the guards when he was being led out to reach him. And she was unable to speak, but she did embrace him. Sir Moore said nothing except to bid her to pray to God for his soul. Well, Henry VIII would ultimately commute the sentence to just a beheading at the Tower of London. What a swell guy. 5 days after Thomas More had been convicted of treason, an old friend named Thomas Polk was given the task of telling him that his execution was close at hand. He said that it would be on the morning of July 6th. His execution had been scheduled for 9 a.m. that day. He also let Thomas know that the king had asked him not to make any big speeches to the people. So Thomas More complied. Then he asked his friend to ask the king if his daughter Margaret could attend the funeral. Now, this was typically forbidden, but in this case it was approved. Not just the funeral, but the execution. In fact, Margaret and his wife and all of their children and some of their other friends too would be welcome to witness the execution. When he arrived at the scaffold, it was very poorly built, and it almost seemed as if it was going to fall down. Thomas More was frail. He needed assistance to get up. After all, he was an elderly man now, 57 years old. That was old back then. He addressed the crowd. The crowd had barely a dozen civic people, 20 to 30 ordinary citizens, and Thomas More said, "I die the king's good servant, but God first." So he laid his head down upon the chopping block. He asked the executioner to wait until he was able to move his beard, because he had said that his beard had committed no treason. And that's how Thomas More's life ended, one blow of the axe. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. Here, his head was boiled in oak bark tanning solution, and this was to help preserve it. His white beard stained brown, testimony given by a witness. He was then given to the keeper of the heads on London Bridge, the keeper of the heads, and put on that famous pike to join the other heads already on display there. And there it sat for a month. Then, following tradition, it was thrown into the River Thames to make way for other victims who made Henry mad. But his daughter was down there on a boat under the bridge. Presumably, she got the head just in the nick of time. She put it in a casket, preserving it with spices, and kept it in a lead box for the rest of her life. And I believe that this is the box, the coffin that was housing the head of Thomas More. It was put in a burial vault here under the Roper Chapel of the family built on the side of the church here. And I believe that is behind here. This is kind of the secret door. And I'm just going to move this temporarily. So behind this door, guys, there's I believe this is the Roper family crypt. And if you go in there, it goes down, and there's chamber, it's a small area, chambers, but it was excavated. And they found some interesting things. And I know I'm not going to try to get in there, but I don't think anyone is allowed in there. But as the story goes, his head, Thomas More's head, is in there. Somewhere down there. It's like let's go back to the sequence, the lead box with her father's head was placed on top of her coffin when she died. This house ended up here in 1597. This Roper vault was enlarged and rebuilt. But in the summer of 1978, there was an excavation of this vault. The chapel floor was lifted to reveal brick steps going down and the steps down to the vault. And they found 5 lead-lined coffins, descendants of the Ropers, called the Henshaws. No sign of the Ropers. In the corner was a 2-foot-deep charnel pit with many bones, and I believe that is what is behind down in the crypt. William and Margaret Roper. In the northern corner, they found a tiny niche with an iron grill in front of it, and there inside was a lead box with a skull. The lead box had collapsed, and the skull was now in many pieces, a male skull. Why would all of this be behind bars? To protect something valuable from theft. Must be the head of Sir Thomas More. The last time the vault was opened was 1997, and Thomas More was canonized by the Roman Catholic Church in 1935. He is the patron saint of statesmen and politicians. So, kind of a mystery what's going on here, but I think the head is still there behind this iron cage. So that's the story here from St. Dunstan Church, guys. Very violent end, but a morbid location for the head of Thomas More. Rest in peace.